a lot of people, including myself, were beyond satisfied with Resident Evil 2. It came out of the blue and it managed to remind us of our childhood. But not only that, it went way and beyond what a remake is supposed to be. The developers didn't just overhaul the graphics, which would have been good enough for some fans, they created pretty much a brand new game. The locations are the same, and the main storyline, while having a couple of differences here and there, remains pretty much untouched. But the gameplay is completely different. The mechanics are also very different, to the point where I think this is the best zombie survival game ever made, period. You can shoot zombies in the leg and watch how they try to crawl to get you. You can trick zombies in order to fall off ledges. And the coolest thing is that zombies follow you room to room, banging at the door before crashing it open. And you don't find this in any other game. And the atmosphere was just brilliantly made. It's a really good return of the survival horror genre. Thinking back, I can definitely encourage anyone who hasn't played this game to play it. I can full-heartedly endorse this game and guarantee that any person picking it up is going to have hours of enjoyment worth of its dollars. And I haven't even talked about Mr. X. Now, with that said, obviously people were really excited, and still are, about Resident Evil 3, which I have managed to play the demo, and I will talk a little bit about it. But what I did notice that when Resident Evil 3 came out, a couple of people online were complaining about Jill. Because you see, Jill is a all-time fan favorite. There's a lot of art on the internet about her. She is the female fatale of the Resident Evil series. She is widely known. There's a lot of cosplayers that enjoy dressing up as her from the previous titles. And those people pointed out that she looks a little bit ugly in the Resident Evil 3 game. Now, she isn't Mortal Kombat beaten with the ugly stick level. She hasn't gone to the Mass Defect Andromeda and came back. But she isn't with the same sex appeal that the old Jill had. And when those people voiced their concern on the Twitter, you had a bunch of people that like to call themselves centrists, quote unquote. And they would be like, oh, you're just like the social justice activists now. You just nitpick and you complain and you're whining. You're like Anita Sarkeesian. You're no different than the social justice activists. I didn't really partake in this conversation because honestly, I'm like, yeah, I know it's not going to do any good. But I do agree with the people that I am personally not a big fan of the new Jill model. And I think there's going to be a lot of people modding more beautiful females into the game. Like they have already done with Resident Evil 2 by modding Tifa into the game. And it looks absolutely amazing. However, I would like to shut up all these centrists once and for all, because this is what really annoys me. Like, it's one thing to look at a work of art and agree, yes, the artist changed it because reasons, and I'm still happy with it. But it's another thing to criticize the art and say, yeah, this was changed, and then you have the centrists going, no, it wasn't changed, you're the problem, shut up. So here is an interview with one of the developers from Capcom. And they say that there were a lot of discussions internally about the direction. The original design of Jill Valentine was clearly going for sex appeal, but it was not the right decision. This is a very strong character, and it is a character that's going through a lot of adversity, so we wanted to home in on it and make sure that there's a certain level of believability in what she is wearing, a certain level of practicality. Now, far from me to say that when I play Resident Evil, I want believability and practicality. But with that said, Resident Evil 2 has Ada Wong, which is a fan favorite, and she fights while wearing high heels. And I haven't heard actual people complaining. Now, all the centrists and the naysayers saying, oh, no, this has nothing to do with the developer making a conscientious decision. Why don't you go and reset era for once and call the actual social justice activists instead of like attacking the actual people that purchase and enjoy the game. Now, if you don't know what Reset Era is, it's an internet forum where a bunch of journalists, game developers, and other opinion influencers, all of them incredibly far to the left, and they like to bully, harass, and force developers to their whims, usually to get social justice brownie points, to get the street cred that, yes, I managed to bully a game developer to change something in his game and make it more social justice acceptable. And in one case, they even managed to put a game developer to suicide, so they actually are killing the gaming industry one developer at a time. Now, it seems that they are now having the power, and they actually had it for a while, and I keep pointing it out, but people just dismiss it, to influence Japanese game developers. Japanese game developers are now bending the knee to the people of Reset Era. Now, thankfully, in this case, the bending of the knee is not too great. I mean, I can still enjoy Resident Evil 3 with their decisions, especially since there's going to be mods that are going to add whatever the community wants to be added. They're going to probably add the old Jill into the game. So I'm not really worried about it. It's just the principle. And I guarantee to you, it's going to start off slowly, but surely we're going to see more and more changes and more bending of the knee as we're moving on. This ideology is quite baffling. Like, the idea is not only to make women ugly, but to also make men naked. And in this case, we actually see this with Nemesis. I found it a little bit of a chuckle. As the developer said, the first thing I saw was the clothing. It felt strange to be creating a bioweapon and have it wear clothes. Even though every single other bioweapon in the game, including Mr. X from Resident Evil 2, has clothes, all of a sudden they decided to change that and says that rather than having wear clothes, we had him wear something synonymous to a body bag. Something that made him feel like a restrained weapon. At the same time, I wanted to say, to stay true to the original, so the silhouette of Nemesis still had that iconic look. Now, I personally like the idea of clothes, because they would symbolize that that creature used to be human. It was like the last vestiges of humanity, which is what makes it really cool when you see Mr. X the first time, because you don't know whether to shoot him or not. He still has clothes, he looks fully dressed, so it symbolizes a bit more intelligence than the zombies have. But at the same time, his tall stature and his imposing presence symbolizes that there is something off about it and he should run. So I preferred the clothing version, to be honest. But, you know, this is a little bit of an artistic representation. But another thing that really bothers me as I played the demo was the fact that Jill constantly curses. Now, maybe it's because I am the type of person that stays a lot on Twitter, and I notice the people that are the furthest to the left, they curse a lot, constantly. And cursing doesn't necessarily make you seem like a strong person. In fact, it makes you look weak. Unless you're cursing for comedic effect, it makes you look like you're insecure. It makes you look like you're vengeful or vindictive. And I don't think that this is what Jill used to be like in Resident Evil 3. And you notice this a lot of the time when a medium is being infected by progressive. The first thing they do is they have characters to curse. A perfect example would be in Picard. Now, if you watch the previous Star Trek, the Next Generation, you would notice that they actually say no one curses in the future. Like, they move past that. And the first episode of Picard, the first thing they do is to have a woman cursing. And I guess, like, this is how they view powerful people, or this is how they view a boss, like someone that just curses at people. And, you know, in the Resident Evil 3 demo, again, Jill cursed several times with absolutely no reason. She had no reason to curse, it was just put there, and it bothered me personally. It kind of took me out of the immersion. I was like, what? Jill doesn't talk like that. Where are they taking this character? In what direction are they going? And, you know, like, again, this wasn't enough in order to pull me away from the game, in order to make me not enjoy the game. I played the demo, and what I liked the most about it was the scenery. I liked the setting. I loved going back to Raccoon City and being able to enter shops, and the sense of danger was always there. In Resident Evil 2, you kind of feel a little bit more safe because you secure a room and you kind of know that there's nothing in there to hurt you. But in Resident Evil 3, as you're walking from the street into a shop, you don't know if something else is going to come out from the street into the shop after you close the door. So I really like that tension. I like that drama. And the sound was amazing. Like, they did a really good job creating the atmosphere, which I think Resident Evil 2 actually missed. A lot of the times, some good soundtrack, because you're in the police station and they want it to be a little bit more quiet and more relaxed. But here, no, the sound was really good and it was amping the tempo. It does seem to be a little bit more of a gun game, a shooting game, than a meticulous and slow-paced game like Resident Evil 2. So that is something that I enjoyed. Something that I didn't like, and maybe this is just me, I couldn't get a zombie to fall down by shooting it in the leg. Now, maybe that is still in the game, and I was just like really bad because I played it with the controller, and my aim was a little bit off, but I swear, I shot some zombies in the leg, and they just fell over dead rather than have the leg broken. So I hope they didn't remove that aspect, because that was really cool. And I didn't have a lot of time to experiment with Nemesis, but he was really scary when he finally arrived. Like, he manages to move all over the map. He jumps in front of you. He manages to hit you if you're not careful and you don't use the dodge mechanic. So I really love that. So overall, I still think Resident Evil 3 is a great game. But I just wanted to make this video in order to silence the people that are saying that this is not something ideological that the developers are conscientious of. And there is not a push from the Western industry in order to get Japanese developers to renounce their culture and their way of making games and make it more accessible and acceptable to the Neo-Puritans in the West. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the comment section. Thank you for watching, and catch me on my live stream later tonight.